Hello, welcome to More Yoga with me, Emily. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you are having some good time, maybe off, maybe not. For a lot of us, it's just more time at home. But anyway, I hope it's been lovely for you. That's a weird way to start. For today, I thought we would try going upside down a bit. And so because I'm online and I can't coach people individually, right, there's sort of like an issue, at least in my mind, in terms of ethics of coaching people into dangerous poses like handstand or headstand or things like that. So anything that we're going to be doing is preparation for that rather than actually going into it. And I almost never teach headstand anyway, even in a personal class, maybe one-on-one. I don't think it's a pose that we need to learn how to do necessarily. But handstand can be a lot of fun. That being said, you got to be really careful about it. You got to make sure that your core is switched on, that your forearms are switched on, shoulders, that you've got flexibility in the legs to be able to kick up. Um, After this, you will be super fired up. And if you wanted to take your mat to a wall, then you could practice kicking up and touching the wall. But that's only if this is something that you're into. Otherwise, every single step along the way should be available to even beginners. So these are all of the things that you would do if you want to fly, if you want to go into handstand. And this is not something that I can do in the middle of the room anyway, at least not for longer than a split second. So blocks are handy, something to kneel on is handy. Otherwise, let's start lying down. So when you don't have your feet on the floor, and you only have your hands on the floor, you have to recruit muscles in a way that you wouldn't normally need to recruit, particularly your core and the deeper core line as well. So we'll get into that in a little bit. We'll activate the core. So forget about that for a moment and find a comfy spot on the ground. Your arms could be extended, your legs could be extended, they could be bent. You could take a little wiggle from side to side just to release any tension in the low back. You might loop your shoulder blades onto your back a little bit more. And then for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose. And exhale, sigh your breath away. Couple more. And continue breathing however you need to, whether it's in and out through your nose or your mouth. Notice how your breath is flowing, if it feels really open and spacious. Maybe you notice some sticky or choppy spots along the way, in which case without forcing it too much, gently try to lengthen through those parts of the breath without forcing it, as I say. And that will smooth the breath out. Last few breaths here. And then start to, oh, bring a little bit of movement back to your body. Maybe you need to yawn like I did. Until you feel ready to hug your knees into your chest and take a little rock from side to side. You could draw circles with your thighs here and your hip sockets, or just any kind of movement that would feel good. Just trying to loosen up your hips. And then start to reach your legs up to the sky. Flex your toes back toward your face. And then press the soles of the feet up. So your knees might need to be bent to do this, right? They don't have to be straight. And I want you to imagine that you're standing on the ceiling and then start to hug the legs toward each other. Now, the shape of my legs, kind of my knees hit, and then in order to get my feet together, I kind of have to turn my feet out. That's okay. Don't worry about it. If it feels weird, it feels weird. If they don't touch, that's fine. Also, you could bring a block between your thighs so you get that feedback, so you know that you're hugging the legs toward each other. A little draw of belly button to spine. And then hands can go behind your head or even just rest on the floor. You're not going to do anything too crazy, but I want you to keep thinking of hugging the legs toward each other, except you're going to lower the right leg down. And then exhale, lift it back up. And then inhale the left leg down and exhale back up. I guess if you had a block, that would fall out, so maybe don't use a block. So it's kind of weird thinking of hugging the legs toward each other even though one of them is moving. Now, you're not going to hug so much that it crosses the center line. And then really active through the feet, through the core. Once more each side. And then shake it all out. Whew, that's a lot of core for 2 days after Christmas. Some of you might want to rock and roll up and down your spine here. If that feels good, maybe roll to one side and then press yourself up. Either way, let's come to hands and knees. Little draw of belly button to spine. Shoulder blades onto your back. Hands nice and wide. So let's practice this now before we get into handstand, right? Outer shoulder width apart or wider, particularly once you go upside down, you want that extra space. You don't see gymnasts tumbling with their hands close together like this, right? They get a little bit of space so you get more strength. Okay, let's move through cat and cow. Inhale, lift the tailbone, hollow through the lower back. Exhale, round through your spine. So a few cat and cow undulations on your own time. Your own breath, moving however you need to move. Getting a little stretch through the core, a little release through the low back. If there's any other movement here that would feel good, then feel free to go where you need to go. And then come back to center, hands and knees. Spread your fingers really wide. Start to grip the mat with the finger pads. You might create a little pocket in the palm of the hands. This means that the forearms are firing up, which will protect your wrists anytime you're bearing weight. So fingers wide, hands nice and wide, toes tucked. Exhale, lift the hips up and back into downward facing dog. So for here, you might pedal the heels a little bit toward the floor, wag your tail from side to side. You might even kind of rock forward and back a little bit, just waking up those shoulders on the shoulder girdle. And then send all the weight to your left leg on your inhale. Pick the right leg up, and maybe you draw big circles here with the femur and the hip socket. You might take a couple swings up and down. You could open the hip, you could close it, just loosening up here, but also getting a little bit more strength into the upper body, and then switch sides. And then come back to center. Couple breaths in stillness here in downward facing dog. Just notice how it feels. And then bend your knees, look forward. Take as many steps as you need to come into standing forward fold. And here you might take a little wiggle or sway or bounce. You might be still. You could rest your elbows on your knees or thighs. You can get more traction through your spine. Maybe you have blocks and choose to bring your hands to blocks. Last few breaths. And then release your hands with fingertips to your shins. Inhale, little partway lift, belly bend to spine. Exhale, let it all go. Couple more on your own time, on your own breath. Feel that lengthening through the spine and then the release. And then bend your knees, tuck your chin toward your chest, head heavy, arms heavy, slowly roll up to standing. Maybe a little wiggle as you roll up. And then once you're all the way up, take a couple loops with the shoulders, up, back, and down. Little noodle or release, and shake everything out. Okay, so you felt what downward facing dog feels like. We're going to fire up the forearms now, because when you're in handstand, obviously hands are the only thing on the floor, and there are no muscles in the fingers. So you have to fire up the forearms as much as possible so that the fingers can work, right? This is attached up here. Because if your forearms aren't fired up, you're going to be loosey-goosey, and there's no way you're going to have a really strong position on the floor. So, little drop, belly bend to spine. Shoulder blades on your back, and bring your arms forward, palms facing down. Now, as soon as we do this, we kind of go into this zombie posture, right? So squeeze the bum, shoulder blades on the back, nice posture, and start to flick your fingertips as fast as you can. And that's relative, right? It might not be as fast as me. If you're practicing with a friend, it might not be as fast as them. It's as fast as you can. And then keep it going, but instead it's like single hand clapping. Okay, bring the arms up overhead, go back to flicking, and here I want you to feel a little shrug of the shoulders. Keep flicking. Little drop, belly bend to spine. I find it easier if I move around a little bit, so you can do that. Clap. Hold. All of a sudden, you start to feel a little bit of lactic acid build up. Arms out to the side, flick. And clap. Again, part of me is wondering why I chose to film this particular class on December 27th when I haven't done anything for a couple days. Back up top, last little bit. Shrug the shoulders, flick as fast as you can. And clap for 3, 2, 1. Pause. Palms face down. Slowly lower your arms down to your sides. Letting the blood flow come back. Releasing the tension in the forearms. Flick your eyelids open. And shake out the arms. A little wiggle, little noodle. You can do a bit of this stuff if you want to. Just getting a bit of a stretch into the forearms. All right, come back to center. Little drop, belly button to spine. And then inhale, sweep the arms up to the sky. As you exhale, dive or fold down to the earth. Forward fold. Inhale, little part way lift. Exhale, fold. Bend your knees, plant your hands. On your inhale, step back to plank, to the top of a push-up, either from your toes or from your knees, wherever you need to be. But make sure your hands are nice and wide. Spread the fingertips wide. Squeeze your bum, squeeze the tops of the thighs. Take a couple little scapular push-ups here, so the elbows stay straight, but your chest tips through the shoulders and then pushes through. If you're not used to them, they're quite a bit simpler from the knees. Last couple breaths. and then lower all the way down to the floor. Little wiggle of your hips from side to side. Untuck your toes. And press the tops of the feet into the floor, so much so you feel your kneecaps lift away. Send your tailbone to the back wall, belly button to spine. Wrap your shoulders onto your back. Inhale, lift the heart forward and up, baby cobra, and exhale, lower back down. A couple more of these. The next time you come back down, tuck your toes, exhale, lift the hips up and back, downward facing dog. And now see how downward facing dog feels. Maybe it feels stronger than it did before, particularly through the forearms. Take a couple little shrugs here of the shoulders. Bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, walk, step, or hop to the top edge of the mat, standing forward fold. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Charge your legs. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. Exhale, right back down to the earth. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Plant your hands. Inhale, hop, step, or float back to plank. Exhale, lower all the way or partway to the earth. Inhale through baby cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. On your inhale, lift your right leg high, three-legged dog. As you exhale, draw the knee to nose, shoulders over wrists, hips high. Inhale, back up. Exhale, right knee to right armpit or elbow, hips high. Inhale, back up. Exhale, draw the knee across to the opposite side. Inhale, back up. Exhale, knee comes to nose, and then pause. Try to stack your shoulders over your wrists if you can. And then exhale, step your right foot to your thumb, release your back knee to the floor or to a chip foam block. And then inhale, come up for low lunge. You might be into it right away, doing the yoga thing. You could back out of it if you want to start with. Squeeze the bum, belly button to spine. Hug the legs towards the center line, shoulders on the back, and then shift forward. Getting really active release through those hip flexors. You think, why are releasing hip flexors? Well, they have to be able to release properly to get all the way up and vertical. But even more importantly than hip flexors are hamstrings. So exhale, shift your hips back as you extend to the front leg. Hands could be on hips or maybe a wall. I'm going to use blocks. And then wrap the left hip forward and draw the right hip back. And really try to find length now through the back of your right leg. Because particularly if you're swinging the legs up into handstand, you need to be able to have as much length as possible in the hamstrings to make it easier for you to get up. And so you can start in more of a forward fold rather than a downward facing dog position. And then inhale, rock forward, plant your hands, step back, float, or downward facing dog. On your inhale, lift your left leg high, three-legged dog. Exhale, knee to nose, shoulders over wrists, hips high. Inhale, back up. Exhale, left knee to left armpit or elbow, hips high. Inhale, back up. Exhale, draw the knee across to the opposite side. Inhale, back up. Exhale, knee comes to nose, and then pause here. Press the floor away. And then exhale, step your left foot to your thumb, gently lower the back knee to the floor, and then inhale, come up, low lunge. As always, you can back out of it, shake out, go off alignment, go wherever you need to go, and start to sink into your lunge. Whether you're kind of backing out of it and really squeezing the bum on the right side to make it active, We're doing the yoga thing. A few breaths here. And on your exhale, shift your hips back. Extend through the front leg, half splits. Again, hands can be wherever they need to be. Right, floor works too. Really wrap the right hip forward, draw that left hip back. Little micro bend in that extended leg, or a deep bend. And then peel those toes back toward your face. Might as well get into the calf muscles as well. Last couple breaths here. And then slowly inhale, rock forward into the front leg. Plant your hands, or indeed actually come up to your fingertips. And this time we'll step forward, standing forward fold. Little wiggle or sway. And then fingertips to shins, inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, let it all go. One more. Charge your legs. Inhale, sweep all the way up to the sky. Exhale, hands to prayer. Release, shake it out a little bit. Okay, second round of forearms. Yay! Bring your arms forward, shoulder blades on your back, squeeze the bum, belly button to spine, and start to flick. And you might think, Emily, we're already 22 minutes into the class. I'm like, I know. But that's why I said it's handstand prep, right? We're not going to be doing a lot of time in handstand. Overheads, flick the fingers. A little shrug of the shoulders. Right, so you have that activation, that strength through the shrug muscles. And then out to the side flick. Not so bad the second round. I don't know, maybe we're not doing it for as long. Clap. And last time up to the top flick. And clap. For 3, 2, 1. Pause. Bend the elbows. Slowly lower your arms down by your side. Shake it all out. Belly button to spine. Inhale, sweep up to the sky. Exhale, dive or fold down to the earth. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. Plant your hands, step back, flow, or downward facing dog. Okay. Downward facing dog. Shorten your stance as much as you can until you're able to stack your shoulders over your wrists. You might be up on your toes. You don't have to be on your feet. This is a great place to use blocks because it gives you a longer lever for the arms and makes the step in a bit easier. But go wherever you need to go. Make sure your hands are spread nice and wide. Shrug the shoulders, press the floor away from you, and then inhale, lift the right leg high. Make sure the hip doesn't open out. You want to keep it parallel. Maybe you take a couple swings of the right leg. Maybe you come up onto the toes on the left. Maybe you take a couple little mindful hops as you swing. And then when you're done, you're done. You can rest in kneeling or in child's pose. If you're flying, then keep flying. A couple more breaths. And then when you're ready, we'll set up again. Hands shoulder width or outer shoulder width apart or wide. Spread the fingers wide. Step in as much as you can. Ideally, so one foot can be flat, but it doesn't matter. And then lift the left leg high. Couple little mini swings. Make sure you don't open up, because if that heel swings to the right, that's the way you're going to go. maybe a couple little mindful hops, pressing the floor away from you. Keep going if you'd like to, or if you're done, you're done. And when you're ready, let's all meet in child's pose. Knees wide, heels back toward our hips, back toward the heels, and torso toward the earth. So if you'd like to do more, this would be a really great place to pause the video and take your mat to a wall and maybe practice some more swings or jumps or even kicks up into handstand. And you can start to tick-tock and maybe take one foot off the wall and then both. Otherwise, stay with me. We'll cool it down. So make your way onto your back. Hug your knees into your chest, little rock from side to side. We'll end with a twist, so right arm out to the side. Maybe you shift your hips right and exhale. Lower your knees to the left. As gentle or as deep of a twist as you need. Last breath here. And then inhale slowly. Come back to center, reset your spine, your pelvis. Left arm goes out to the side. Exhale, the knees to the right. And then slowly inhale back to center. Maybe there's one last pose that you would like to take before your rest. It could be happy baby or some sort of spinal flexion or extension. And if you're ready for your rest, think about where you would like to go. Could be flat on your back, legs bent or straight in Shavasana. You could rest on your side or in child's pose or in handstand, joking, or a seated meditation. And once you've found your pose of rest for 3 breaths, inhale through your nose. Exhale, sigh. Your breath away. Couple more. And then let go of all breath control. Let go of any last muscle gripping or tension, particularly in your face or your jaw. And stay here longer if you can, 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.